All right, I hope I'm live. I was having all sorts of technical difficulties today, so if you could hear me, just let me know. Hopefully, this is actually working. I had to do a few workarounds instead of my normal everyday thing, so hopefully everything's working. I see Rob Curro is already here. Rob, thanks for tuning in. Algie Mill, I am sorry that you have to go to work. JJ, thanks for tuning in. Late live stream is better than late books. All right, so it appears as though everybody could hear me. Man, I've been trying to get this working for like the past half an hour. So everything was fine before I went to Montana and I came back. I don't know if things have been updated. Actually, I know some stuff's been updated, but it probably reset all sorts of things. So now on my end, I'm like, hey, I gave it all the permissions for the camera, for the audio. You can see the browser. There's no reason this shouldn't be working, but apparently, it's not working. So the way I wanted to, but at least we're live. Eric, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. So, all right. So I was thinking today that I would cover the all sorts of stuff, the Mark Millar, the Glenn O'Leary versus the comic book, quote unquote, pros out there. We're actually, a lot of them are just mean spirited people, and get into that. Talk about some other indie stuff, obviously, iconic comics. And then there's a couple people that asked me to share their Indiegogo campaigns. Godful Universe, I don't think he asked me to actually share it. I just am. So, but I know of the campaign. But actually, Vinny here, Tartamella, asked me to share the art of Vinny Tartamella, his Indiegogo campaign. I said I would do that. I said I have a small audience, but they do buy comic books. So check out Vinny's campaign. He's got all sorts of stuff here. If it looks like it's up your alley, add to the backers that have already sent him $1,501 in pre-orders, essentially. So there you go, Vinny. And Apollyon 20XX, Live Not by Lies, by Godfo Universe. So these guys, they've been talking to me for a while about campaigns and all sorts of stuff. This book is completely done. It's ready to print. So you can check this out if it looks like it's up your alley. Add to the $500 and 11 backers that have already taken part. There's 56 days to go. They're looking for $1,500. And again, if you go to the campaign page, everything, it's like 175 pages, something along those lines. And the book is already done. It is black and white. Check out the trailer. Anyway, these guys have talked to me for a while, but not in the I'm trying to be weird and just see you as a means to an end. Just talking to me like just good dudes. And I like that they have everything done up front and they're ready to go. So you know that if you back it, they're not going to be like, oh, well, I'll get it to you 6 months from now or a year from now or a year and a half or 2 years or 3 years or whatever. It's ready to go. So I like that quite a lot. And in all of my interactions with them, they have been solid dudes. So bam, check that out as well. Obviously, Iconic Comics. You got the new Arc Athena book out. If you backed Butch Killigan, that'll be coming in the near future. If you backed the Black Hops crossover campaign, that'll be coming to you in the somewhat near future. So yeah, Iconic Comics, lots of cool stuff going on. Soul Finder, I don't know if you could still get the bags. There was the Black Friday Cyber Monday sale, but they don't always turn it off right away. If you can still get the bags, great. If not, I will likely offer the bags as an add-on with the Soul Finder 4 campaign when that happens. So let's see. So what can you guys say about 2024? All right. So, well, I could talk about 2024 for sure. So Soul Finder Volume 4, it's completely inked. It's the last couple pages of coloring are being done. Then I got to get with Bill Williams and see if he could letter it. That shouldn't take too long. And then it's just a matter of time of getting it printed. So that should be out. I have the short story Noctis Terrari with Eric Canetti. That is done. That just need to be lettered as well. Bill Williams said he is open to doing that, so that shouldn't take very long. So everything's basically done. I just got to get this color work done on Soul Finder Volume 4, and then we'll be going, because Bill doesn't take too long to letter. And then I actually recently said on Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, that I was approached to write a non-Soul Finder short story from a friend. It's been approved. I saw concept art last night. It should be offered via Iconic Comics in 2024. I hope you enjoy the collaboration when it's ready. More fun stories are on the way. So, yeah, I was really psyched when I was talking to a friend about this. He is a very, very, very talented artist. And I don't want to get into too many details. When he gets work and he wants to, like artwork done, and he wants to tease some of it, maybe he could do that. But I just wanted to let you know that I am writing, or I wrote a non-Soul Finder short story about a character in another creator's property, and it was right up my alley, and I got to explore all sorts of themes that are enjoyable to me, that got me psyched. And so that'll be on the 2024 docket as well. So bam. And then we got the Mark Millar stuff in this guy, Glenn O'Leary. All right. So long story short, this has been blowing up for a couple days now in my feed. This retailer, he put out this video, which I could play, and people went nuts over it. And let me see if I could play it for you guys.
I don't care what you would do if you were Ryan. Most of these new writers don't have the love of comics that these older writers had. And all they care about is, how can I put myself in the book? No, we don't care what you would do if you were Iron Man. We don't care who you are. You're writing Tony Stark. You're not writing yourself in a book.
All right, so this is a valid point that he has here. Not all writers, but a lot of writers do this thing where they are tasked with, we'll just say, Iron Man, right? And instead of looking at Tony Stark's history and seeing what Tony Stark would do, given his history in any particular situation, they project themselves into Tony Stark and say, what would I do if I were magically, I woke up and it's like that old Tom Hanks movie, or like Trading Places, or whatever the heck it was. No, that was the Eddie Murphy. Big with Tom Hanks. And you wake up and you're in Tony Stark's body. It's you, but you're like technically Tony Stark. What would I do? And this particular retailer, who I guess who's been around for 30 something years, and he's obviously having trouble selling the mainstream books, whether it's Spider-Man and Iron Man and X-Men and all of these sorts of things. He's clearly frustrated with, he's been around for decades, and the current landscape for books is very difficult. It's difficult because of the economy, sure, but it's also difficult because many of the books, not all, but many of them have these situations where the younger writers are writing themselves in the book. Again, not Tony Stark. And he is saying rather bluntly, people don't really care about Mr. Whizzleteet's life and what you would do. They fell in love with Tony Stark. They fell in love with Peter Parker, and that's what they want to see. And if you're twisting their lives around to basically be what you would do in any given situation, that's weird, and it's not selling, and I don't like it. And please stop, is essentially what he's saying. So he goes on.
If that's the case, write your own comic with you in it. No one will read it because nobody cares. People grew up growing up loving Peter Parker, loving Miles Morales, loving all these Captain America. We don't need you to put your input in it. Just write Steve Rogers. Don't write Steve Rogers. What would Steve Rogers be if I was Steve Rogers? That's not how it works. But that's, again, how most of these new people write nowadays. That's why most of the stuff is shit. because we don't care what you would do, because we don't care about your life whatsoever.
Okay, so this is where he was going to be attacked. They were going to go after this guy regardless. But when he says, we don't care about your life whatsoever, he's just being insanely blunt. And that probably also struck an extra nerve. But again, when somebody is angry, this is his livelihood. He has put in decades of his life, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars into this shop over the course of decades. And he's emotionally invested in addition to being just like financially invested. You don't want to work for something for your entire life or a chunk of your adult life and have it go down to the drain right before you're about to retire or however old he is. You know, he's probably in his 60s or something like that. So he's clearly upset. When you get feedback like this, the response should not be to attack his physical characteristics. So I saw a number of people going after the way he looked, likening him to the comic book guy from The Simpsons, you know, his face, his body, all sorts of stuff. And you're like, that's not how you do it. That's not what about the substance of his argument, which is, quite frankly, correct in that nobody wants to hear what Joe Snuffy would be like if he were Spider-Man. They just want to read Peter Parker's Spider-Man. And so these people don't like this. A lot of these writers. I saw another writer, and he was basically saying like, oh, writers can do whatever the heck that they want and blah, 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 blah. Mr. Nelson says, how modern comic book writers think. Superman is a good person. I am a good person. Therefore, Superman would act just like me. Something along those lines. Long story short, they're very self-absorbed people. And the fact that they would go after this guy's physical characteristics when he's making an impassioned plea about the industry, about his shop, about what's going on, is very telling about them. A lot of times the people that frame themselves as the most compassionate and kind, they're really not. Maybe they want to portray themselves that way. They want to say that that's the way they are. But then when they are confronted with opinions that put a spotlight on some of their negative characteristics, they get really angry and really nasty really fast. And that's exactly what they did to this guy. So they started dogpiling him. I've said before that it doesn't matter. So over the course of the years, they have found people on YouTube, they have found people on Twitter, and they have said like, these guys are part of a hate group and all of this sort of stuff. And it's like, in the absence of all of the villains that you've created on Twitter and YouTube, diversity in comics, go down the list of people. If they did not exist, and Glenn O'Leary just showed up on the scene out of nowhere, and he said the exact same thing that he just said. In the absence of all the enemies that you've created over the years in your own mind, they would still, they act like this guy is the devil. They demonize this guy. So there is a sliding scale of bad, I don't know, like demonization in terms of who is the worst guy. And so it doesn't matter. You could have people that are ripping up your comic books, that are stabbing them with knives, which is ridiculous. And I don't agree. Like, I just think that's like generally kind of like bizarre. And they could be the bad guy one day. But then if those people just fell into a black hole and Glenn O'Leary was there and he just said the same thing, like, write Tony Stark the way Tony Stark is supposed to be, don't write yourself, then the scale slides, whoop, now he is the worst guy in the world, and they will just frame him as Skeletor or whatever you want. He is just a horrible, rotten, no good person, and we don't like him, and we must destroy him, and we must crush him, and we must bury him in negative tweets about how he sucks and how he's like just a bad person and all this sort of stuff. And so to me, that is very telling, because an industry that is healthy would not respond that way. If you had editors that were worth a damn, sorry to, get that way myself, but if you had editors that were worth a damn, they would crack the whip and say like, hey, you can't act like a freaking professional. Don't be going off on the retailers who are just giving you feedback about what they're experiencing, because they got boots on the ground. They are there. This is their livelihood. The guy that you are saying is a horrible, rotten, no good person, this is somebody that's dedicated his life to comic books. So even if you don't like his opinion, can you maybe kind of, sort of cut the guy some slack? Maybe? Can you do that? No, you can't, because you have to go after anybody who strikes a nerve with the truth. Again, he might not, most people are not going to be crazy, awesome diplomats. They're not going to be Socrates or whatever. They're not going to be John F. Kennedy. They're not going to be George Washington or Thomas Jefferson or Patrick Henry. Is life so dear or peace so sweet? Blah, 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 blah. They're not going to be able to do that. And their emotions are raw. If they're looking at their balance sheet and they're going bankrupt and they can't sell your books, and they have tried and they have been quiet for years, hoping that there would just be a quiet, silent course correction. Something happens behind the scenes that says like, hey, we're looking at the numbers. We gotta shift our focus back to what has worked, or else bad things are going to happen. I was talking to a friend recently, and he's like, yeah, the walls are closing in on a lot of these creators. When they put their hands out, they can feel the walls. And I was like, yeah, it's like the trash compactor in Star Wars. The trash compactor is closing in, and you don't have R2-D2 and C-3PO there to help you. And you got the trash compactor monster that's ready to drag you under and drown you. And you're concentrating on Glenn O'Leary, dude. Like, you got bigger problems than Glenn O'Leary. He's the one who's trying to tell you, hey, you got problems, man. And I'm giving you the transmission or whatever, the radio frequency to get to R2-D2 and C-3PO to save your butt. And you're screaming at me. So good luck with that. Anyway, so again, I see these writers and they're like, oh, blah, we do whatever we want. Blah, blah, blah. All right, well, here's my response. So a writer who is tasked with, say, Iron Man has certain parameters he must acknowledge in order to truthfully approach the property. There are creative landmarks that make up the Iron Man border that a writer must embrace in order to exist within Iron Man country. If readers overwhelmingly tell you that you have crossed the border into no man's land, and your response is to scoff and say that a writer can do whatever he wants, then you have lost the plot. You have failed. I have tried to say this since I was blogging in about 2010 or whatever it is. And again and again and again, these people don't want to hear it. They just want to do what they want to do, and they want to be pat on the back. They want to be told that they're a little genius. You know, their mom and dad growing up never told them they were bad at anything, so they got to be told like everything they do is just awesome, dude. Just awesome, young lady. You're a little princess. Well, no. Sometimes you fall on your face. Sometimes, as Admiral, how do I say it? It's nice to reach for the stars, but sometimes you fail. Sometimes you don't get out of orbit and you crash land, and that's okay. People can respect somebody that takes calculated risks. What they can't respect is somebody that will never admit when they're wrong, when they made a mistake. Now, there was somebody who was responding to this and was talking about, well, you can go outside the borders. That is a good thing. Yes, totally agree. Again, calculated risk. We could expand the borders of Iron Man country, but you have to be very careful about it. You can't have hubris. You have to be very humble. You have to have discernment, all those sorts of things. And I actually think about it like, okay, we have Iron Man country. We have our borders. If you are taking risks, it's not even so much that you're going outside of the border. It's that you are finding little valleys and little grottos and little hidden beautiful waterfalls within Iron Man country that you never knew existed. You're finding things that are there, that are good, that are true, that are beautiful, that have always been there within infinity, the creative infinite, or whatever you want to call it. They've always been there just waiting for you. It's in Iron Man country, but we have to operate within the borders. We can't go to no man's land. We can't go to the negative zone. And if we do go to the negative zone and someone says, ground control to Major Tom, you're spinning out of orbit. We're going to lose you, man. Wake up, Major Tom. Please, for the love of God, Major Tom, can you hear me? And they're like, groggy, yeah. All right, get control of the craft, buddy, because if you don't, you're going to be in the cold, death of space or whatever. You're a goner. So Glenn O'Leary is like ground control. He's the guy trying to get the creators back on track. You don't need to listen to all the things that he says, but please look for the grain of truth in what he's saying. And he actually has more than a grain of truth, but the guy, he's pleading with you to listen to what he's saying. And he's making some good points. So to me, what was gross about all this were the people that immediately, their knee-jerk reaction was just to start making fun of the way that he looks, and physical characteristics and all of that stuff. I mean, and I wouldn't even mind if the people that were doing it were like Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, go down the list. If they were lookers and you're like just naturally movie star-esque individuals. But I mean, come on now. It would be bad regardless, even if they were beautiful. But at least if they were beautiful, then you could be like, okay, well, whatever. But I mean, you're no looker yourself, Mr. X, Ms. X, or whatever, and you're going after this guy. I mean, come on now. It's like doubly and triply and quadruply more ridiculous when you have some of these comic people who are going after comic shop owners, acting as if they're a young Tom Cruise or something, or Henry Cavill, and you're just I don't know, you're just a stud. No, you're not. So those that live in glass houses should not throw stones. We'll just put it that way. So anyway, Mark Millar had Glenn O'Leary on his YouTube channel today. So check that out. I listened to a little bit of it while I was running errands. But yeah, so just check it out. Very good conversation from the 15 or 20 minutes that I was able to listen to before I had to pivot and I was going to do this. So check it out. So Mr. O'Leary, thank you for adding your voice to the list of many that have sounded the alarm it could be too late. Again, the trash compactor is, I mean, it's right there. It's next to the sludge, and Luke, and you just got your head just above water or whatever. You're about to be pulled under by the trash compactor monster. But hey, you have somebody who up until the last breath is trying to let you know how to possibly save yourself. So, good luck. Yeah, demonize this guy. See how that works out for you. Probably not well. So, yeah, it's just frustrating. But that's the other thing is, I don't want to get like too off track here, but for me personally, now that I have entered the creator space, now that I'm doing Soul Finder, here's the thing is I tried for years to tell these people before I ever did these books, before I was ever collaborating with Tim and Mark and Eric Canetti and Bill Williams and Matt Weldon, before any of this, and they didn't want to listen. Guys like Dan Slott wanted to stick their own readers after me for letting them know, like, hey, dude, you guys are going down a dark path. And at some point in time, it's like, I don't want to, cast pearls before swine sort of thing. And so for me personally, I am not going to do 10 videos on this. I will do a live stream. I'll talk about it for a little bit, for the hour that I'm talking, or hour and change that I'm talking. But then I'm going to go right back to Soul Finder stuff. I'm going to go right back to the project that I'm working on with a friend at within Iconic that's non-Soul Finder related. I'm going to get back to Soul Finder Volume 6 research, because 5's already written and Matt Weldon should start that in the near future. I don't have time to continuously talk to people that hate my guts, that want to just block me, even though, like, I haven't, I'm not a rhetorical Molotov cocktail bomb thrower. I'm not going after them, making fun of their appearances. I'm not, but they still want to block me anyway. The number of creators in the mainstream industry who I've never actually talked to that have me blocked is insane. Like, every other month, somebody will follow me and I'll be like, oh, who's this guy? Check it out. And I find out that I'm blocked by new industry people that I've never said a bad word about. I've just tried to tactfully talk about the industry for years, but blickety block, blickety block, blickety block, blickety block. All right, dude. Yeah, you can block me all you want. It doesn't change reality. It doesn't change what's going on with the industry. So I'm just going to do my own thing. And I mean, that gets into some people were talking. People asked me about the quote unquote culture war stuff and how it relates to comics and this and that. Is the culture war real? Is it not real? Blah, 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 blah. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, no, it's literally real. We can go, I mean, the title of this video was Elon Musk. That gets into the Catholic stuff with this lady that was, whenever I don't know if I want to get into this now or not, but there are people out there, if you just say that you love Christ's mother, if you love Mary, they will go nuts. They will turn into Bruce Banner, turn it into the Hulk. Because if you dare to say that you love Mary, that you love your spiritual mother in heaven, that gets them really upset. But that's a whole other thing. So let's see here. Boom. Let's see if I could bring up. Come on. All right. Uh-oh. We got to go back. Here we go. Where is it? Elon Musk, Bob Iger. So yes, the quote unquote culture war, I mean, it is real. But most people can't talk about it with any sort of nuance. So as it relates to me, it's one of those things where I operate from a blueprint that there is nobody that could stop me from creating the content that I want to create. Is it an uphill battle when you have YouTube that goes out of its way to suppress people and like tamp down the signal or mess with it and automatically unfollows or unsubscribes people, and they let you know, like, hey, YouTube keeps unsubscribing me from you or whatever, including your family members, so you know it's definitely legit when your own brother gets unsubscribed from you and he's like, what the heck? Is that annoying? Yes. But ultimately, nobody can stop me from putting out quality work, from doing my best to hone my own craft and my skill set, my God-given skill set to be the best that I can be and get it out there. So, I could have people out there like Lotus Petal here saying, I already knew Soul Finder was going to be a fun read. It's already proven the past 3 books, so I won't spoil much. Let's just say it came across as a nice Memorial Day / Veterans Day tribute. Little smiley face with some tears there. I miss my grandfathers a lot this time. So obviously military ties there. So again, is the culture war quote unquote real? Yeah, sure. It's real. Can it stop me from cultivating my own reader base? No, it can't. I'm going to keep doing my thing. And yeah, so Rob says the culture war does not exist. Again, I disagree with you. It exists. There's always culture clashes all the time, but can it stop me from doing the thing that I love? No. Am I going to sit here and spend an inordinate amount of time just constantly saying that I can't do X, Y, and Z because somebody out there doesn't like me. No, I'm just going to keep doing my thing. And actually, if you believe in God, if you are a Christian man, your success is in God's hand. It's not in some goofy creator at Marvel and DC's hands. They have no bearing on your success. If God wants you to succeed, if it is God's will that you succeed, they can't stop you. There's nothing that they can do. So if you were given God-given talents and you were supposed to write and you were supposed to do art and you were supposed to reach a certain size audience and you were doing your best to realize God's will in your life, that's all you need to do, brother. Because God, put it in God's hands. He's going to make sure that your book gets to the people that it's supposed to get to. You don't need to worry about anybody else, what they're doing. I mean, it's good to acknowledge reality as it is, and you can't really navigate certain minefields unless you have an accurate picture of what is going on and the obstacles that are in your way and how best to just do your best to navigate everything. But do you constantly need to be crying and complaining about how people are holding you back from your potential? No. Just do the work to the best of your ability. Be a better man today than you were yesterday. Just keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again. Read good books. Listen to people that are trying to give you constructive criticism. And then take that constructive criticism and try and integrate it into what you are doing, so the next thing that you do is better than the last. And you just keep doing that. And over time, the trajectory of your life, it is not going to be determined by any of these people. It's just, to me, it's weird and it's sad when I see people wasting their true potential who are constantly going and digging back into like all the people that have tried to like hold them back over the years, and they really seem to think that those people have a leash on them or something along those lines. And then it's just very, very strange. So, all right, let's see where we want to go. Do we want to go to the political stuff? What else do we got here? I think I covered a lot of that. Let's see. Where's the political stuff? Oh, this is Father Redder. I keep going back too far. All right, so I could talk about New York City congestion fees. All right, so this gets into the political stuff. So if you've lasted this long and you like my political commentary, great. If you don't, then you might want to tune out, because I'm going to get into New York City congestion fees. I'm going to get into the White House wanting $100 billion more for Ukraine and all sorts of other wars of choice. The FBI going after Catholic choirs and all that sort of stuff. So, all right, long story short, New York City, apparently, New York City will be the first in America to charge Americans just to go to work in the morning. Americans will have to pay $23 a day. Passenger vehicles will be charged $15 to enter the quote-unquote congestion zones. Trucks between $26 and $36. The tolls will be charged once per day. Okay, so we have a new toll on top of all the other tolls that ever been told. I told you that they never stop adding new taxes and fees on top. It's never ending. These are the same people that wanted soda taxes, the same people that wanted all sorts of sugar taxes, and they just keep going down the list. Alcohol, tobacco taxes, firearms, estate taxes. You could just keep going. Everywhere you turn, speaking about walls closing in on you, these people are always coming up with a new fee to get you on top of all the inflation that people are already feeling. And my question to New Yorkers and the good people of San Francisco and all these other cities out, Philadelphia, Chicago, if you're out there, I know there's good people that still exist within those cities. Why do you have this weird dynamic that is like an abusive relationship where someone, I know someone's going to get mad at me for this, but it's like a relationship where someone is constantly being abused by another, and for whatever reason, they have a trauma bond with that person and they cannot leave. So you have all of these corrupt officials in Philadelphia and Chicago and New York City and San Francisco and Los Angeles and Oakland and Detroit and all over the place, all of these cities, Dallas, and over and over again, they keep voting for the same people who keep abusing them. You look at the cities and they continue to erode. They continue to crumble. You have lawlessness. It was brought up during this debate between Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom last week, the poop map of San Francisco, where they literally track human feces that is all over the streets and the sidewalks, and you could report it so somebody somewhere could clean it up. And Ron DeSantis held up the map and was just like, look at this brown map of San Francisco. And certain parts are really, really, really brown because people keep pooping all over the streets. And you have to tiptoe and tap dance around human diarrhea that's all over the streets. Gavin Newsom, what do you think about that? I said it would only be better if Ron DeSantis held up a bag of San Francisco street poo and flipped it over to Gavin Newsom and be like, this is San Francisco street poo that I collected today on my way to the debate tonight. I was walking down the street and there was just poop all over the place. All right. So, yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, but these people continue to vote for the same people over and over and over and again. When will it end? When will people say enough is enough? And here's the thing. These voter bases have been engineered and they've been conditioned over the years to essentially be slaves to their own emotions. And they don't think about when they are considering, I shouldn't even say they consider subjects. Everything is just a reaction based upon their feelings. And so the Democrats that are in charge of these cities for decades on end, they have been like, okay, we created this Frankenstein feelings emotion monster, and we will just direct its rage wherever we want, and we will continue to be able to be in power. Well, that worked for a long time, but you are seeing with the Israeli Palestinian situation going on right now, where a huge percentage of their own voter base, they can't stand them, and they're going nuts. And they're like going after dining establishments that are run by Jewish people, and they're hosting all sorts of bizarro protests and shutting things down. And then you have these like Democrat politicians that are like, oh crap, what is going on? Yeah, your Frankenstein monster got out of control. You think that if you condition somebody to just be an emotion monster, that you could control them? No, you can't. One day the monster is going to turn on you. And that is a glimpse. What you are seeing with all the Israeli stuff right now and their own voter base that are all like happy Hamas people, loving Hamas, it's boomeranging back on them in ways that they didn't anticipate. Yeah, congratulations, dudes. I don't even know what to say, because everybody gets to feel the pain of what you have created. So now serious people who try to run their lives around logic and reason and virtue, they have to figure out how to untangle this problem that you created. They have to figure out a way to, shut down the Frankenstein monster and get everything back on track. Thanks to you. Really appreciate that. Very cool. Very cool. So, all right. So that's the New York City. Boom, boom, boom. Got that. Doug the Globulus here. That's another story. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Basically, Eliza Barr was saying that I'm really bad at taking his money. And my reaction to Eliza Barr is, dude, if you drive hours and hours and hours to get to Bell County Comic-Con, I'm going to try and get you some free stuff. But I will try and be better about taking your money at Bell County Comic-Con in 2024. So let's see. All right, went through that. Let's see, Elon Musk. All right, we got the Catholic choir thing here. So let me see. The FBI's breach of religious freedom, the weaponization of law enforcement against Catholic Americans. This is from the Committee on the Judiciary and the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, U.S. House of Representatives, December 4th, 2023. So this just came out that the FBI was trying to talk to Catholic choir directors because these they're scared that if you are a traditional Catholic and you actually say the rosary and things like that, then you might be a radical. And so this is a story that was in the news a while, but now they are digging into it and they're finding more and more and more stuff. And I guess the point is that the U.S. government has zero moral authority. And think about the, how do I say that? The repercussions of admitting, the implications of admitting that the United States government has zero moral authority. It is now going after Catholic choir directors instead of legitimate threats. If you look at the U.S. border and what is going on, there is no control. These people want another $100 billion for Ukraine, for Israel, for all these other countries and all these wars that they're fighting around the world. Well, they're not fighting. They're sending other people to fight. They're sending other people to die for wars that don't even make any sense in terms of actual U.S. national security. You can't really make the case that you have to be in a never-ending war, proxy war with Russia to the tune of 200, 300, 400, 500 billion dollars with Ukraine. It doesn't even make any sense. It's actually insane. You can't say we're at war with Russia, but we must continue to fund a war with Russia on behalf of Ukraine, or else the war will end. No. To quote Ron Burgundy, I don't believe you. So here's the thing is they are corrupt politicians that continue to spend taxpayer money. Think about how much you work every single year. If you collect all that has gone to the federal government, it's like you're working for months and months at a time before you ever get any of your actual paycheck. It's going to the federal government. And I mean, they keep printing money, so that's a whole other situation. But for all intents and purposes, you're working so they can just send money overseas to these other countries. So then they can end up getting kickbacks that go to them, and their family accrues generational wealth. So millions and millions and millions of dollars go back into the bank accounts of the politicians and their children. Meanwhile, inflation back home, you're looking at the price of meat, you're looking at the price of eggs, you're looking at the price of milk, you're looking at the price of everything going up, and you're like, how do I afford rents going up? And you're like, how do I afford this? I don't know how I'm going to afford this. I don't know how I'm going to last another 8 months. I guess I'm just going to keep ringing it up on the credit card. And meanwhile, all of these politicians who, again, are going after Catholic choir directors and sending hundreds of billions of dollars overseas that most Americans would rather see stay right here to solve explicitly American problems. Now, they're just like, you know what? We don't really care what you think. We're just going to do whatever the freak that we want to do. We don't care what you think. And so it's only a matter of time. So what is the price to pay in terms of you, Mr. Random Americans out there? You want pocket porn on your cell phone. You want pocket playoff NFL games and pocket playoff Major League Baseball and whatever other sport that you. So yeah, life is really comfortable, but at what price? The price of tyranny. That's what it is. You don't even realize they've lulled you to sleep with pocket porn and professional sports, and they keep taking liberties away and freedoms. They keep encroaching again and again and again on God-given liberties and freedoms that they have no right to be eroding or encroaching upon or trying to take for themselves, to dole out as they see fit. So at some point in time, people are going to wake up. Hopefully it's not too late, and they will realize, hey, once upon a time, our founding fathers freaked out about a stamp tax, and we are taxed up the wazoo. We're living in New York City. In every which way you turn, they're grabbing at your pockets. They got a metaphorical gun to your head, and they're making you take out money and give it over to people that do not give a rip about you. They should be in orange jumpsuits right now, but they're not, because they've, again, conditioned you to believe that you don't have any recourse. So at some point in time, I hope people wake up and realize that these people, again, zero moral authority. The only reason they're able to go back to the Declaration of Independence and after a long train of abuses, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to, be flippant about the Declaration of Independence, but there has been a long train of abuses. It is, it's across the entire country, this particular train, and it's stopped because there's no more rail to go on. It's just a giant train of abuses, and now it's up to the American people to decide, what are we going to do about this? Do we want to go into dark places? I don't know, but all I know is that these people are essentially a mafia. They're mafiosos. If they weren't in politics, they would be in the mafia. They would be white collar criminals. That's what they are. They're a bunch of lawyers who are corrupt for the most part. They went to Ivy League schools, they got law degrees, and they are oftentimes literally evil people. And they are the ones that are controlling the agencies. They are the ones that are in the executive branch, and they are the ones that are oftentimes federal judges. You have to understand that there are very powerful, very intelligent, very evil people out there that hate American principles enshrined in the Declaration of Independence and codified into law by the U.S. Constitution. They're, again, oftentimes evil people. But I digress. So let's see. We talked about Mark Millar, and let's see. We'll pivot back to indie creators here because, I don't know. This is a good way to end this, I guess. So I saw that Tyler Carpenter was, talking about how there was indie creators and they're hanging it up. They're walking away financially. They are done with this or whatnot. And they've had enough. They've given it a go and they're walking away. And seeing these indie, and in addition to Tyler's stuff, I also see people on a regular basis who are basically through with indie comics, or they're lamenting that they don't have enough readers to be able to sustain the projects that they want. And it's actually funny because a lot of times, well, I guess we could get into who some of these people are. But my response was random indie creators on social media. Where did it all go wrong? Me. You enter into networks that require you to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to curry favor with people in an unstable and unpredictable dominance hierarchy chain who don't even care about you. Your priorities are screwy. Instead of focusing on your craft and the things that truly matter, you enter into an arena that requires you to view popularity as a currency shortcut that can be exchanged for financial success. Now, this is a 33,000-foot cruising altitude commentary on my part. It could apply to people at Marvel. It could apply to people in DC. It can apply to people in indie comics. All over the place, I see people that they just want to be popular. And they think that if they are popular with the right individuals, that will translate into financial success for them. And they're not concentrating on the craft of storytelling. They're not concentrating on art and practicing their art and getting better as an artist. They're concentrating again and again and again on currying favor with people that they think are popular. So this can apply to all sorts of quote unquote tribes or factions within comics. or even politics in Hollywood, in television show. This is a problem that's endemic to humanity. So I'm speaking in a broad, a brushstroke sort of way and saying, think about this. Stop focusing on the other guy and how you could be in his good graces, and maybe, possibly, if somebody says something good about you, you'll get sales. Instead, focus on putting out the best product that you can again and again and again and again, and organically growing a reader base. Try that. So I said, in short, you embraced a paradigm that was riddled with pitfalls, fell into said pitfalls, and even now you do not recognize what's happened. Worse, you get angry and lash out at objective men who try to help you. I hope you've reached a point where this helps. And this did very well. A lot of people shared this. A lot of people were liking it. It seemed to resonate with a lot of people. Why? Because again, it's broad brushstroke and it applies, and people know that there's a lot of truth to it. So, but that's not what people want to hear. So let's go down to this guy. Where is this guy? So of course, you always have guys like this out there who come out of the woodwork. This guy followed me for like the longest time, never said a word. And I followed him back for the longest time. He could have reached out to me any point in time. So something must have touched a nerve with this guy. And he goes, have Hut make a video about it. So why did you think that I was talking about you when, again, this was a very broad brushstroke sort of thing about indie creators? It could be indie creators that are on the left. It could be indie creators that are on the right. It could be indie creators that are just independents or whatever. This could apply to all sorts of people. But yet, this guy who could have asked me an adult question for years and years and years comes out of nowhere and says, have Hut make a video about it. Now, obviously, people that have tuned in to me for a long time know that I have dropped randomly, whenever I see fit in an unpredictable manner, all sorts of evidence to show that a giant smear campaign was targeted at me, and it was just a bunch of lies. Like 99% of the things that these people said about me in 2022 were just literally lies. So I started dropping receipts on this guy's head. And he was very quiet about this. He didn't have anything to say. Very interesting. Again and again. I'm talking to this guy and he didn't have anything to say. So let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. There was one new one that I dropped on him. Let's see if I could find it. So then he goes to the old school, the email. He's like, you emailed this guy. And I was like, actually, no. I never. Well, here's the thing is this guy thought, let's see, where is it? Where is my show more? Come on. Let's see. You made an email about it. Show replies. Where is it? All right. Why can't I find my own reply to this guy? All right. How is this possible? Is it like covering up my replies? Basically, I put out a screenshot showing that, where is it? Have Hut make a video about it. All right. I did that. Am I going to have to show this? All right. Noah's. Oh, here we go. All right. All right. He says, you did email him with talking points and people you wanted targeted in his videos, right? Boop. All right. And I say, no, I answered his random questions from a business account about people who said on streams in front of thousands of people that I should be sodomized, that my books are quote unquote gay, etc. He admitted all of this on his channel and then deleted over 1,200 videos because gullible clowns exist. You blindly believe a dishonest guy who wiped his entire channel of all content about 10 times now in order to avoid scrutiny. If someone says I should be raped on a stream when I launched my first campaign, then maybe guys like you should focus on the people saying I should be raped instead of me when I answered the inevitable questions about it the next morning. You could have come to me like a mature adult for the past 18 months with questions, but instead you decided to make moronic potshots birth from believing lies. So this guy says, all right, here we go. He goes, I think there were emails from Doug to Hut showing that he had specific messages for videos that Hut was to make. Here we go. And then I reply, he never showed more than a subject line because that is all there was to show. I sent him clips about me and my friends that were literally on Twitter and all over the place at his request. People don't want me to have clips about me. People who don't want me to have clips about me should not lie about me to huge audiences. It's fairly simple. So I've never showed this before. This is something that I decided, you know what, this guy is dumb. And he doesn't understand that the reason why so many people have shut up about this is because I randomly release receipts showing that I was lied about. So here is the email. The reason why there was only email subject lines that were sent was because that's all there was. There's literally nothing in the actual content other than a clip. What was the clip about? The clip was saying that I was in a conspiracy with Preston Poulter of all people to quote, to take down Allegiance Arts in their Walmart deal and all this sort of stuff. And then I was just like, dude, you could still find the clips online. They're literally still there if you want to find them. So they're all on Twitter for you to find if you want to. And that was indeed a lie. I was never in some stupid conspiracy with Preston Poulter. And the reason why I started even talking to him in the first place is because I was accused of being in a conspiracy with him. So I pretty much had zero interactions with the guy until I was accused of being in a conspiracy with him. And then it was like, hey, did you hear that I'm in a conspiracy with you? And then I was like, yeah, that's really weird. What the hell? And then I was like, yeah, I don't know. So these people create conspiracies and they tie people together. And then when the people start talking to each other and saying like, what is going on? How is this happening? Then they're like, see, I told you that they were in cahoots together. They were doing this and that and the other thing. And I was like, I didn't even talk to the guy until you said I was like best friends with the guy. What are you talking about? So, yeah, anyway, long story short is it's very interesting to me how when I make these 33,000 foot cruising altitude comments about the industry that people read into them and they get really upset and they think that it's a blatant attack on their little idols, their little YouTube e-celeb false idols and things like that. And it's like, if I make a point from a broad philosophical standpoint and you get upset about it, maybe it's because there's some sort of truth to what I'm talking about and you don't like that. And maybe you should think about that. So I'm allowed to make broad philosophical points about the industry. And again, if people want to randomly lie about things, the vast majority of time, I am going to ignore it. But every once in a while, you never know when I will drop receipts showing that people are liars. They are dishonest people. Speaking of dishonest people, it was brought to my attention. It was put on my radar that there was a YouTuber with a large audience that was bashing Timothy Lim the other day. And so, of course, this always comes on my radar. And it's like, well, what do you think about that? And I will quote Saint Alphonsus Liguori. Tribulations enable us to acquire great merits before God by giving us opportunities of exercising the virtues of humility, of patience, and of resignation to the divine will. All right. So he says, oh, what a treasure of merits is acquired by patiently bearing insults, poverty, and sickness. Insults from men were the great objects of the desires of the saints who sought to be despised for the love of Christ and thus be made like unto him. So the vast majority of time when people want to insult me or Timothy Lim or Mark Pellegrini or Iconic Comics, the onus is on me to just bear it, to just patiently sit there and take it, because over time, God has a way of meting out perfect justice in ways that I cannot fathom. And so if I just shut up and I get out of the way, God will handle all of these people for me. But if I have to say something, then on occasion, I will try to cite saints like Saint Alphonsus Liguori. I will try and speak with a clarity of focus. I will try and strip out emotion and let you know with just the facts and the figures that liars are in fact liars. And then you could take that for what it will, for what it is. So anyway, I think that's enough for now. Covered Mark Millar, Glenn O'Leary. Let me go back to the chat here. Remember, it's because of the Catholics we have to our shoes off at the airport. Yeah, those darn Catholics, man. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have to go through all this airport security. I mean, it's the Catholics and it's the Latter-day Saints and it's the Quakers out there. And it's the darn Baptists. You keep causing us to have to go through all this extra security at the airport because of the things that you have done. Why do you do that? Let's see. Neostar Productions, thanks for tuning in. Let's see. It says, I have my gripes regarding mainstream entertainment, but I honestly find it more productive just to make my own content. Yeah, that's the thing is there are plenty of ideologues out there and they are doing their thing and they are an obstacle of sorts. But whenever you're faced with obstacles, you always have the option to look for ways above them, beneath them, around them, north, south, east, west. You could just go through them. That is an option. There's all sorts of options. But the idea that there is anybody within the comic book industry, or there is anybody at YouTube or Facebook or X or Instagram that is stopping me, this is proof positive that no one has been able to stop me from putting rosaries out, from putting books out, from putting nice little bags out, from putting out vinyl records, all of this sort of stuff. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think that somebody could stop you and you start getting all down on yourself and you start just getting into the muck of negativity and all this sort of stuff, yeah, of course, you will fail if you spend days and weeks and months and years just being upset that people out there don't like you and people might try and throw a wrench into your plans. Well, then your plans are not going to take shape. So the best thing to do is just to put as much energy as possible into realizing your dreams and to find a way to push those guys out of your peripheral vision and do your thing and see what happens over the course of time. Matt, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Anyway, I think we've been talking for an hour here, and I had a good time talking with everybody, and I hope you had a good time listening. I will be back in the somewhat near future, and we will leave you with St. John of the Cross. In the twilight of life, God will not judge us on our earthly possession and human success, but rather on how much we have loved. So, all right, think about that for a little bit. Matthew, winning looks like spending so much time in making comics. You've got no time to care about Mr. Obama, former president, or anybody else along those lines. So, all right. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'll be back in the somewhat near future. See you guys later. See ya.